We had Marisa Lonic come in and talk to us about time management, but not just your typical go through the day, time block, get all the things done, how to really make that a part of your life as a mom and manage things in a mom management style. So I am so excited for you to dig into this video, take her techniques and tips, and really learn how to start implementing things today for time momagement.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kelsey, for inviting me to chat with your members tonight about time management, one of my favorite things to talk about. I will get into more about what this concept means, what it really like, how it kind of fits into your life as a mom. But first, yeah, I would love, love, love if you are here. I understand if you can't share your camera because you've got other things going on, but if you can pop it in the chat, let us know where you're tuning in from, how many kids you have, what you do, and maybe those goals, those intentions, like Kelsey said, because that always helps me really tailor the conversation to the audience. So thank you again for being here. And I'm going to just go ahead and dive in with my first question. So, what's your time worth to you? What's your time worth to you? And you can feel free to unmute. You can feel free to pop this in the chat, whatever is most convenient to you. But I'm curious because I think when we hear time management, at least I know when I hear this, sometimes I kind of cringe and I'm like, oh, rigid schedule or like hours, seconds, minutes, like really counting down these like granular measurements. And here's the thing, of course, time management has to do with organization and systems and things like that, but it also has a lot to do with our relationship with time, our intentionality with time. So I teach time management very differently than probably your standard time management coach out there. But I ask you this question because, you know, time isn't just that. It isn't just hours, seconds, minutes. It's kind of like money isn't just the paper currency. It's what you do with it. It's how you spend it that really matters. That is the motivator of why you want to be so intentional with your time, right? That money means nothing unless you're putting it toward things that are meaningful to you, whether that be family vacations and making memories, whether that be donating to charities or organizations that really mean something to you, whether that be buying yourself something really special and like feeling like $1,000,000 rocking it, like a purse or shoes. You know what I'm saying? When you like rock those really hot shoes, the confidence really rises. And it's really the same with your time. When you intentionally use your time, you are able to do amazing, amazing things. And that is a lot of what I teach because I work with moms, I work with ambitious women, and I know it's challenging to always find the time, to always create the space, the energy, the motivation to focus on those goals. And so I'm so excited that this is the audience tonight, like ambitious moms, because I have to tell you, like, you're my favorite people to talk to and work with. All right, so what are today's takeaways? Let's just quickly run down this list. So we're going to talk about how time management is different when you're a mom and why time momagement, what I teach, is more likely what you're needing in your life right now. We're going to quickly touch upon, we're not going to keep the vibe low here, but we are going to quickly touch upon the negative consequences of managing and not momaging your time. And you probably are feeling some of this in your life. I have personally felt all of the things I'm going to share with you. My clients have gone through this. And the good news is you don't have to feel like that. It is not a season you have to feel like you're just stuck in because, hey, hashtag mom life. This isn't like a meme. This isn't like the reels you're watching on Instagram that are kind of poking fun at it. Hey, it's funny to laugh at, but it doesn't have to be that way. We are going to dive into 3 small steps that you can start today, right now, immediately after this, to start managing your time like a boss. Okay. I am all about taking action. I am all about simple steps, simple shifts you can take to be able to have huge consequences, huge results for you. I don't like complexity. I don't like things I can't stick to. I like things that fit my lifestyle. And if you're a mom like me, you know the lifestyle, it's crazy. The juggle is real. And then we are going to finalize with the only person you need in your life to make your time work for you. This is the only person, this one individual. So how does that sound? Let me know. Are you here? Are you with me? Tell me in the chat, unmute, some type of interaction.
Yeah. I am so excited about all of this, Marisa. And I think touching on the time management and the momagement is so real, because often we can hear like, well, that person doesn't have like the same things I have going on. And being able to understand that for different ages of children too. So I'm hoping you'll kind of touch on that, because you have a span of how that might be different between those different ages and kind of what that looks like. And then one question, when you were talking about how you value your time, do you think of that as like a dollar value or a feeling as you work through that and try to answer it for yourself?
I think it can depend whatever comes to mind for you, but I look at it as what I can accomplish, what I can be successful at, like how I can really use that time with intention. And sometimes it's a major professional or personal goal, and other times it's just really undistracted presence with my family. So it's really about what you want in that moment, what those goals are, and then using your time to get there. I'm a firm believer, anything you want in this life, if you can manage your time effectively, you can get it. I really think that is it. We all have the same amount of it. Yes, circumstances are different. Yes, who's got childcare, who doesn't, who has a 9 to 5, who doesn't. Absolutely, I get it. I've been in those shoes 100% myself. You can still make it work. You can still make it work. So that's sort of the foundation of it. Yeah. Okay. All right, let me quickly introduce myself.
Can I?
Oh, hi.
Can I pop in real quick?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Devonna. I'm driving, sorry, so that's why my camera is not on. But I'm probably why Kelsey may have mentioned my kids are grown. They're 31 and 28, but still very much part of my life. We actually own some businesses together, so I'm with them, quite a bit. And I also believe that not just kids, but I think our spouses can sometimes be the other child in our life. But I have to say, I just did a big thing today. I'm so excited. I resigned from a nonprofit that I've been on for a while because of what you just said. My time value of my time is been so stretched, and I just realized I've got to start cutting some things out. And I think to Kelsey's question, is it money? But for me, it's just more having that extra time now to focus on the things that I really enjoy and want to be a part of, rather than feeling it wasn't like I did it initially. I had fun. I enjoyed doing it. I love being a part of the community and helping. But at the end of the day, I wasn't having enough time to spend with my family and my grandkids and my mom, So anyway, I just wanted to pop in real quick because I was at a good stopping point driving.
So. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. And congratulations on that major leap that you just took. That's super exciting. And I think too, for things like that, as Devonna said, I'm sorry if I butchered your name. I tried. We go through different seasons too, where sometimes it feels like that aligns with what we're wanting to do, because you said, hey, it was fun for a while, but then it wasn't. And then my intention and my goals changed, and that's okay. We're always evolving. Every transition in my life has been an opportunity to sort of revisit how I'm managing my time effectively, what needs to shift, what needs to change. So I love that you shared that example for that reason as well. Okay, so let me briefly introduce myself here, because I want to dive into all this goodness. If you don't know me, my name is Marisa Lonic. Above all things, I'm a wife and a mom. So I've been married for almost 13 years now to my husband, Anthony. We have 4 boys. I say boys because I do think raising the opposite gender is a little bit more challenging sometimes, like just in some communication and things like that. I don't know. I've never raised a girl, so maybe I'm wrong, but I find that sometimes like we're like, what? Did you understand me? No. Okay, let's revisit this. Anyway, so I'm a mom of 4 boys. They are ages 8, 4, and 2. And I have run my business, Mama Work It, for the past 4 years. Mama Work It is an organization that supports women in the juggle of mom life, work life, wife life, fill in the blank life, through coaching, through courses, through books, through community. So that is how we support moms. I'm a best-selling author, so I've written 3 books to date and also been a contributor to a 4th. So that's one of my books. The first one, Time Momagement, very in line with what we're talking about tonight. That came out in 2019. Then Word to Your Mother, A Mama's Guide to Journal Today and Slay Tomorrow. That is a journal planner type of book, that exercise that you do on a daily basis. And then my newest book is coming out this fall. It's called Biz Momagement, The Working Mom's Guide to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur. And I wrote that book because a lot of what I have done in my business, I did alongside when I was a corporate executive for many years. So I spent 15 years in the corporate space. And during that time, I was able to write some of these books. I was able to create courses. I was able to launch a top globally rated podcast, the top 50 podcasts for moms, the Momma Work It podcast. And I did this. I truly believe I was able to do this because I figured out strategies and systems with my time that worked for me, that didn't have me burning out, stressing out, wanting to give up. Did I have days where it felt super hard? Absolutely. I don't think I'd be normal if I didn't. But with these strategies, with these systems, with these mindset shifts that I was able to adapt, I was able to continue and keep going and pursue what I wanted to do. So I mentioned that because if you are someone listening who is currently in, a job, trying to build your business or trying to fulfill a goal, and you're feeling like your time is already stretched so thin, trust me, you can do it. It is possible. I am living proof right here. So I lovingly refer to myself as a time momager and a biz momager. These are terms that I created in my business. If you Google them, you're not going to find them anywhere except my website. And I'm going to tell you more about what those mean in just a few minutes. So that is just a little bit about me. All right, we're going to start here with like a quick visualization exercise. So if it's safe for you to do so, I want you to close your eyes. If you're driving, please don't. But if it's safe for you to do so, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to think back to when you entered motherhood, when you first became a mom. Okay, maybe this was very recent for you. Maybe it's been a while, number of years, but I'm sure if you close your eyes and you take a few deep breaths, you can remember what that felt like during that time, that postpartum season. Now, whether you thought you were good at managing your time or you thought you weren't good at managing your time before you entered motherhood, all of a sudden, your time management just by default must reach epic new levels. Why? Because you're a mom now. You got other people to take care of besides yourself. You want to know when the nap time is. You want a little bit of predictability so you know when you can shower or you know when you can get something done around the house or just even have some quiet time to yourself. You like that. So you try your best to manage things, to manage your time in a way that allows for that for you. Okay. Now, I'm sure when you entered motherhood, you also became the ultimate multitasker. Anybody in here feel like their multitasking skills just like went through the roof when they became a mom? Let me know in the chat or unmute. Let me know how you feel about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. Like it's just like, oh, you're like, I don't know if you've ever seen that. I hang out mostly on Instagram. So I saw this reel once and I was just dying because it was so true. So it was about this mom. It was about how normal people pick things up, right? They like bend down and pick them up, no big deal. And then it was a mom breastfeeding, picking up something with her toes. And then like, I'm sure you've seen it. So yeah, you're like the ultimate multitasker, right? You feel maybe like everyone's default go-to. If they don't know where something is, what are they going to do? They're going to ask you, the mom, right? What time is dinner? Where is my Pokemon binder? Where I'm just thinking about things that happen in my house per se, or what I get asked all the time. Maybe you've even been called superwoman, supermom before. Anybody been called those titles, right? It feels nice to be called those titles. It's nice. We are doing a lot of things, right? And you often feel, because you often feel like you can just do it all, right? You're superwoman, you're super mom. People are constantly telling you this, and you just feel like you got it, you can handle it. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. This has consequences. Consequences come from when you're doing all the things for all the people all the time. So these are some that I have personally felt. These are some that I know my clients, when they come to me, tend to be feeling at least one or more of these things. And I'm just going to quickly run through this list. And if anything is resonating with you about what I'm saying, feel free to drop it in the chat. Feel free to unmute and share. This is a really safe space. We've got a small group tonight, so it's great if you want to contribute in that way. Fatigue. So maybe you're feeling like chronically exhausted, like there's never a time where you're just not tired, and you're just constantly on the go. Sometimes that you're even like afraid to sit down during the day, because if you sit down during the day, you're not getting back up. Like you are just that tired. Resentment. Maybe you feel like you are doing the 95% of the work at home, and maybe you're resentful toward your partner. Maybe when you're scrolling social media, you start to feel some resentment toward other moms out there who look like they have it all together. Their houses look clean, they're smiling, their kids look like they're listening, like all the things that you feel like you're falling apart in that moment. Stress, like maybe your patience is really low, you're snapping at the kids, you're snapping at your spouse, or you're just like really feeling that tension, right? Overwhelm. Maybe it's like so much going through your mind, so much in and out of your brain here and there, like the mental load is real, and it is so overwhelming you like don't even know where to start. Or if you've been able to get that on paper on a to-do list, it is so long, it is like the length of a CVS receipt, that you look at it and you freeze. You get like analysis paralysis, and you're like, oh my God, I don't know. I don't know where to get started with this. Even if I do anything on this list, it's not going to even make a dent. Like, why bother? And you kind of numb out. Anxiety, burnout. Oof, maybe you just feel like maybe a little more often than you'd like, you feel like you need a mental health day, or you just feel like you just can't stir up the motivation to like be the type of mom you want to be, or like pursue the goals you want to pursue, or like show up at work as the employee, as the leader that you really strive to be. This one's a big one because I think we don't think about this a lot because we're so busy. But sometimes we aren't really happy and we aren't really fulfilled. Like on paper, everything looks like all the things that we thought we wanted. Maybe you've got like 2 kids, a dog, a house, a husband, or a job that you like, or, whatever, but something's off. Something is not right. It doesn't feel totally right. Something's missing. Busyness. Maybe you're just perpetually busy, always on the go. Like if someone asks you, hey, Kelsey, how you doing today? Or how's it going? Your standard answer might be busy. Anyone ever answer instead of like good or fine, say busy as the default? Yeah, it's become such a societal norm to use this word as just like a synonym for good or fine. And it's like you get put on a pedestal when you're busy, like, oh, she's so busy, right? It's like a badge of honor. I don't know about you. I don't like feeling busy all the time. I like to have some space in my life. Like, sure, it can be chaotic here. We've got 4 kids, we've got things going on, but we make decisions with intentionality to not make our schedules like full AF. We don't want that. So perpetual busyness. And then finally, maybe losing touch. Maybe you feel like you're losing touch with friends, with your partner, with your colleagues, because maybe you're not showing up at work the way you used to now that you're a mom, maybe even with yourself, with like your hobbies, or like, what are hobbies? Who does that anymore? Now you just feel like you're just doing all the mom things, doing all the work things, doing all the things, and you forgot what you even like to do. If someone asked you what your hobbies are, you would probably just like freeze and not sure what to say there. So these are the consequences when you are managing your time, when you are productively getting all the things done for all the people and all the things around you, and you're not included on that list. This is what happens, and it is not pretty. And trust me when I say I have been there. I have so been there. So, what exactly is time management? Let's quickly define it here. Um, Again, this is not like a real term you're going to find in a dictionary. I thought of this title when I was in the shower, when I was writing my first book. I don't know about you. I get my best ideas in the shower or like on a run. So I'm in the shower and I'm like, always, I would keep thinking about the terms of what I wanted to call this book. And things would come and things would go and nothing felt right. And then I thought of this and I'm like, this is it. It's not about managing your time. We're already doing a pretty darn good job doing that, even if we don't give ourselves that credit. I'm here to tell you, you're likely doing a very good job at doing all the things for all the people, right? You're probably keeping your house going. You're probably keeping your kids thriving. You're probably over delivering at work if you are an employee and in your business, if you're growing or building your business. Like you are probably doing that. But time management is about prioritizing your time and yourself back into your life so you can regain control of the overwhelm and live your best life. Now, I don't know about you. I want to live my best life. Like that's what I strive for. I want to feel good in the morning. I want to feel good at night. I don't want to feel defeated and exhausted. I don't want to feel like the day like ran over me like a tractor trailer. I want to feel a tired but happy good at the end of the day. So this, in my opinion, is the way that you make that happen. You're able to pursue your own goals, pursue your own ambition, pursue the things that make you happy, the things that you need to do for you, while still showing up as an awesome mom, as an awesome partner, if you're in a relationship, as the best version of yourself all around. So I said early on, we were going to do this with some small steps. We're going to do 3 small steps. So if you are a note taker, feel free to take notes during this time. I know you're recording it, Kelsey, so I'm sure you're going to be able to check it out again if you want to come back to it. These are simple, simple, simple shifts, you guys. They're not complicated. They're not hard. I do this because I want you to get some immediate results. Now we're just scratching the surface today because we've only got, a little bit under an hour together. So by all means, this isn't everything. You're not going to leave today's training feeling like the ultimate time momager, but I do think you are going to feel really good if you implement just these 3 things. You're going to see a major shift happen in your life. So are you ready for it? All right, let's go. Shift number 1, small step number 1 is stop saying the words, I don't have time, and start replacing them with, it's not a priority to me. So let's pause there for a second. And let me just ask you, do you say, I don't have time regularly? Do you find that you're saying these words out loud regularly? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, to be honest, I used to say these all day, every day, like ad nauseum. I used to say, I don't have time. Ask me if I, had time to work out. Don't have time to work out. Ask me if I had time to hang out with girlfriends when I was, doing my commute in and out of San Francisco every day, 3-hour commute. I don't have time for that. Ask me if, I could volunteer or do something. I don't have time. And what happens is when you speak these words out loud, and by the way, these are the 4 most common words moms say about managing their time, hands down. Any client, anybody I've ever worked with, this is it. This is what they believe. This is what they say. And it becomes, when you say these words, it becomes your truth. It becomes like for real. So you speaking it means you thinking it, means your actions portray it. And so anytime you're faced with a new idea or something, exciting comes along and it's not part of your normal routine, this is where you default and go to. You go to the belief system that you don't have time. And what happens? You don't pursue it. You don't do it. You just completely write it off as it's not the right time for me. It's not the right season. I'll get to that when the kids are older, when the summer's over, when pop in whatever excuse you want. And they are valid. I'm not going to, not be empathetic. And I understand, right? These excuses, they're real, but they're excuses.
Yeah.
And they're beliefs we put on ourselves. So I want you to stop saying these 4 words when you catch yourself saying them. And I want you to immediately start replacing them with, it's not a priority to me. And what happens is, we're going to exemplify this in a minute, but what happens is you go one direction or you go another, but either way you go, it's a win. It's a complete win in how you're thinking about what you're going to prioritize in your day, how you're going to spend your time. So let's take the example of working out. How many people say, I don't have time to work out? Where it's like, if it's not something you're normally doing, I'm going to pop these.
Oh, my
Things back in
community
here.
knows this is like such a thing for me right now. I've never prioritized it. And it's a thing for right now, just trying to prioritize it. And maybe you're going to touch on this in a second, but I'd love to understand like the self guilt and then the guilt of not prioritizing others with this. Because like when I say it's not a priority to me and you say that, like I immediately feel like I'm letting someone down. But
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We are going to touch on the mom guilt a little bit in step 3. So let me wait till that point and touch upon it then. However, if I don't fully answer your question in that way, just bring it right back up to me and we'll dive into it a little bit further for sure. Okay, so let's exemplify this with working out, right? I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to go to the gym. This is one way you could look at it. In my opinion, when you say this, it feels like time is in control of you and you are not in control of time, right? You're just kind of like a slave to time. Oh, I guess I don't have time for that. It's not available to me. Now, let's flip the script. Working out isn't a priority to me. Something shifts. So one direction you're going to feel with this is you're going to be like, well, you know what? It's not. It's not a priority to me. Right now, it isn't. I've got a baby that's not sleeping through the night, or I just recovered from COVID or the flu, or I'm in the peak season in my business or at work, and it is just so crazy. It's just not a priority to me right now. And you know what? Saying it in that way just makes you feel like you're owning your time. It lifts any shame, it lifts any guilt in that moment of what you should be doing, like you're shooting all over yourself, of telling yourself you should be working out, right? No, it's not a priority to me. Okay, cool, moving on. So in my opinion, even if you don't get the workout in, it's a win. It's a win because you're not wasting any time or energy thinking about this thing you thought you should be doing. Now, on the other hand, if you say this out loud, working out isn't a priority to me, and you don't feel okay with that, and it feels like icky to you or misaligned, oof, well, what's going to happen? You are going to make it a priority. You're going to make some changes to make that happen. And you are going to, I trust me when I say you will creatively find a way to make the time to make it happen. Whether that means you set the alarm a little bit earlier and you wake up sooner, whether that means you go to bed a little later, whether that means, on a lunch hour, you're heading to a gym or taking a walk, whether that means you're fitting in 10-minute increments throughout the day. There's always a way to make it happen when it's a priority to you. So simple shift just in the words that you're using, huge, huge impact in how you're spending your time. Does anyone have any questions or any feedback before we move on to small step 2? Okay, cool. I don't have the chat open, so I don't even know if things are coming through here. Okay.
I'll read them off to you as we go.
Okay, cool. Sometimes they trip me up when I'm presenting here, but there we go. Okay, so small step number 2 is stop multitasking ... everything. Now, I don't know about you. I'm sure if you're in this community and you're like Kelsey and you're like me, you are big in the personal development world. Like you follow lots of professionals out there who are helping you grow, are helping you learn, are helping you be more productive. I know I am, not just for my business and to help me learn things, but just because I'm nerdy like that. And I love that stuff. And I love to grow and learn new things. And I will say, most of these really successful, really amazing mentors that I look up to, they would tell you point blank to just stop multitasking. No ... They would simply stop right there and they would say, hey, the multitasking isn't getting you very far, right? And I think we can all agree when you're multitasking, your head is in a different space from what you're maybe doing with your hands, right? And things can get out of hand, or things can be like, mistakes can happen, like real stuff can go down. And maybe you're not giving your best output if you're multitasking too. So, with all due respect, I'm going to say, I get it. I see where this advice is valuable and worth it. I also am a mom of 4 kids, running a business, running a house here, and I keep it real. I keep it real because I'm not a hypocrite. I'm going to tell you what I do. I'm going to tell you what I think all moms probably need to do in this season that we're in. And so my advice is, don't just stop multitasking, just stop multitasking everything. Stop multitasking the wrong things. So my mantra when it comes to multitasking, write this down if you've got a pen and paper, is you want to multitask the mindless and you want to solo task the mindful. So let's go through what that means. You want to multitask. Yeah, you want to multitask the things that you can do on autopilot. You want to multitask things that if you messed them up a little bit, wouldn't be the end of the world. So what comes to mind when I think of this? I think of stuff around the house. I think of like laundry. I think of cleaning up the kitchen. I think of even preparing meals or snacks or lunches for school or things like that. And the like icing on the cake here is when you're multitasking these things, which may or may not be your favorite things to do. I don't know about you, but like laundry is really not my favorite thing to do. It's just not. And if it's yours, God bless you, because it's not for me. And so when I'm doing these things, I also like to share, hey, why not multitask those things with things that bring you a little bit of joy in that moment? So what does that mean? Maybe it's like something that's helping you level up professionally, personally, listening to a podcast that's teaching you something or helping you learn more about yourself. Maybe it's catching up with a friend and cultivating a relationship there. You know, like it's hard to find time to connect with friends when you're busy all the time. Maybe that's the time you do it, right? Schedule it in then. Maybe it is, like just putting on your favorite music and rocking out while you're getting some of this other stuff done. And that may not seem like multitasking to you, but it actually is, because when else would you be like really jamming to like your favorite songs, maybe even dancing a little bit throughout the day if you're always doing something else? Pair it with something like this. So multitask the mindless. Now let's move over to solo task the mindful, because this is where I think people trip this up. And I think we can agree, oftentimes when we're multitasking the wrong things, we feel frazzled. We feel unfocused. We have brain fog. Maybe we even feel overwhelmed or like anxious. Like I know when I've multitasked things that I probably shouldn't, it makes me really like nervous and makes me feel like, oof, like I've got like a looming deadline coming toward me, but I'm trying to do 17 things at the same time and like nothing's getting done. I've got all these loose ends and it's just making me feel worse. So when you have things that you fully want to be present for that really matter to you, and they're different for everyone, but things that come to mind for me is dinner with my family. Dinner with my family. I'm not scrolling my phone or doing emails or work things when I'm trying to connect with my family during dinner. I think about a work project. I'm not trying to be distracted by the notifications on my phone when I'm trying to get a work project done. I'm not trying to watch my kids while I'm trying to get something focus work done for work. Now, I know that's not always the case and it's hard sometimes, but I would really encourage you for the really heavy focus tasks, don't try to do those while you're watching your kids. This is why if you were a mom in 2020, this is why you felt like your entire world was falling apart, because the whole world expected you to do your job as you did before without any childcare, right? With your kids at home, not in school, needing your support. I had kindergartners during 2020, you guys, who couldn't read anything, who barely had any school online. And it was a really hard season for me. Okay. And this is something I really feel passionately about because a lot of moms feel like I can do this with the kids around. And yeah, some things you can, but other things, they're going to make you feel worse. So just recognize that there are certain things you want to compartmentalize and not everything should be multitasked. So I'm going to pause there. Let me know what questions are coming up or if you have any feedback, and then we'll keep going.
One of the things that came up for me is, especially when you used the example of your kids being home during quarantine, is that like you may have to multitask those things that you really shouldn't during a season, but it's just like being mindful of getting out of that and knowing, okay, I might have to be watching my kids and working on this project and multitasking those things that really I should be mindful tasks of doing them one at a time. But if I can't do that in this season, it's just coming up with like a plan on how to get out of that to do it differently. Is that right? Because I know that there's probably scenarios where people are like, I have to do both those things together, but figuring out how to get out of that.
Yeah, I would say don't make that your norm if you can avoid it, right? There's nothing wrong with getting support in that sense. And I know this was a big one for me because pre-pandemic, we had really strict screen time rules in this house, really strict screen time rules. And I needed to lessen my guilt, my expectations on myself with that for that season, because the work's got to get done. The things have to get done. And I'd rather not be snapping at my kids every 3 minutes when they're interrupting me and have them watching an educational show so I can fully focus on what I need to do. So I'm not telling you to put your kid in front of like YouTube all day long. That's not what I'm saying. But I also am saying lessen that guilt if there's something really crucial and important that you need to focus on, because multitasking that with trying to like play a board game with your toddler while doing something, it's not going to work for you. It's just going to make you feel totally defeated and really, really overwhelmed by it all.
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned being in the self-development space, and I would say maybe some of our listeners today might be about 50-50. Some are already in that space, and some are just kind of like, what does this mean? And how do I even get out of survival mode? And so for those that are maybe less familiar, are you familiar with the term habit stacking? And do you have any recommendations for like moms on the best way to do that? So like something for me is I try to listen to a podcast or an audiobook while I'm doing dishes or doing laundry. And that's really probably where I've been most successful. But is there anything else that you can think of that you're like, hey, I know you're already probably doing this in your home. What if you added this to it to do that like multitasking where you said it makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. This is really in line with what we teach in the time management program, which are tiny
Perfect.
habits, tiny habits. So really similar to habit stacking, like you mentioned, you take something that you're already doing every single day and you add one tiny habit to it, one tiny habit to it. So let's say every day you're getting up out of bed, right? Now, I'm going to venture to guess because I know I have struggled with this. It's on my 2022 goals. This is on focus this year. I'm doing it. But I've struggled in the past with hydration, something that's simple as like drinking enough water every day. How many of you struggle with that? And especially like once my kids touch my water bottle, I don't want it anymore. I don't want it anymore. I don't know what's in there. And so, yeah, so hydration. So a tiny habit you could implement for this, right? To level up your health, level up your hydration, because believe it or not, something as simple as drinking enough water can make you more productive, can give you more energy and motivation, and like to make you feel your healthiest, best self, to give yourself a better output on the day. Don't get out of bed until you've drank a whole glass of water. Put it on your night table the night before. And that's the first thing you do before your feet even hit the ground. Or say to yourself, I can't have a cup of coffee until I've had a full glass of water.
I love that.
Yeah. So yeah, tiny habits work. They take 21 days typically to stick. So you have to do the habit for 21 days before it's going to feel really natural and habitual for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, let's move on to small step number 3, which is outsource. Outsource and don't feel guilty about it. Okay, so what should you outsource? right? What are the type of things that you should outsource? Like, in my opinion, the things that aren't bringing you joy. Is it the cleaning? Is it the cooking? Is it the laundry? Is it the childcare? And I don't mean you don't love your kids, but maybe you need a break. Maybe you need a few hours a week to be focused on something for you. Now, if budget is an issue, I get it. I get it. I've totally been there. But I will tell you this, if something is that important to you, you will find a way to make it happen. You will find a way to prioritize it. Now, I think more often than not, though, it's not necessarily a financial issue, it's a guilt issue. It's a guilt issue because I don't know if you know this, but mom guilt, she shows up in very sneaky ways. Okay. It's not just about like, oh, I should have read my toddler one more book or I should have spent more time, learning ABCs. She is sneaky. She will come up and make you feel bad when you want to spend money on yourself. She will make you feel bad for that time away from your family. She will make you feel bad for investing in yourself. Like there are so many ways she shows up. Has she shown up for you in some like non-conventional ways, Kelsey?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So many different ways. I'm trying to think of a good example right now, but definitely like anytime I ever like leave my kids or traveling or making a decision. I remember probably the day that I had like the worst mom guilt was when I decided to try to figure out how to get my youngest on a better sleep schedule. And we let him cry for a little bit in the crib and he hit his head on the crib and got a bruise. And so it was like things like that. But then it's also things like you're saying where you'll like go to the grocery store or decide to order groceries. And then for some reason that's connected to mom guilt because you didn't actually go to the grocery store and take your kid to the grocery store and they didn't have that experience. You just had them the groceries delivered. It's like the weirdest things that they'll come up with. And I totally get that.
Yeah. Yeah, completely. I love that example. Thank you for sharing. So, it might be like I feel guilty spending the money versus I just don't have the money. So I want you to really like evaluate that the next time you're faced with an opportunity to really outsource something and like, hello, we live in the USA. You could pretty much outsource anything you could think of. Like there's an app for that, for literally anything out there, right? So if that means it's going to buy you back a bunch of time, a bunch of joy, it might be worth it, you guys. It might be worth it.
I think one of the things that was really huge for me on this too, and I'm still working through, like you said, a friend of mine, she recently hired someone to come in and fold her clothes, and that was like a big deal for her. But she talked about that the time and the mental load that she got back from that really, she didn't see an immediate change, but now she's been doing it for about 6 months, and she's like, my relationship is stronger. I feel better. I'm more prepared with clean clothes to show up as my best self in these other ways. And it was really interesting listening to her talk about it. And what I got from that was like, you may make a decision to outsource something and do that, and you might not see the return immediately. And you might be like, why am I doing this? Like, this is lazy. I should just do it. I should be spending the money on my kids, whatever that is. And it made me really just think about things like maybe you don't see it now, but what's like the opportunity cost? If you had kept doing that, where would your burnout have been in 6 months and what would that have looked like? And that was something just for me to think about, like, you might not need it now, but what if you keep going the way you're going? Where could the right choice be?
Love that. Love that. And, I think shifting your perception too, that it's not like you can't do it all, because you probably can. You are that awesome. It's that you don't want to do it all. And you shouldn't have to do it all because then you show up as this version of yourself that you don't like. Those consequences creep back in, right? The resentment, the unfulfillment, the lack of patience, the stress, the overwhelm, all of it. And I know you don't want to be showing up every day like that type of person. You don't want to feel that way.
Savannah, do you have something you wanted to share?
Can I?
Yeah.
Yeah. So were you talking to me? Sorry.
Yeah.
Am I?
Go ahead.
Oh, so I feel like not very long ago, and probably even still to this day, I have the guilt. Well, and it's not even just with multiple children, but of the guilt of feeling like you're doing more for one than the other is one thing, and then the other is doing more for the kids than your spouse, than your partner, right? So that's where I felt like the biggest guilt my entire, however long I've been having children, and still to this day, it's still, and now going the other direction, having guilt, my guilt for my own mom, like, right, she's in her 80s and spending enough time with her. So it all comes back to this time management and how we can help ourselves try to figure out ways of structuring it so that you're not feeling that guilt, and then having time for yourself, right? So it's all of those that I feel like, as a mom has went through this for 30 something years now, that's been, and obviously working, I was a working parent as well. So it is, that guilt is, and to this day, like I said, I have adult children and I still feel that way. So.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. We have a whole section in my time management 4-week program called guilt management. And the reason why I think it goes hand in hand with time management is you can have all the systems in place. You can have, like, you can be organized, so organized to a T. You can even be so flexible when life doesn't go as planned, because we all know life typically does not go as planned. So you could have all those things in order and be doing a great job. But when your guilt gets in the way, it's all worth nothing. Like, all that planning, all that time, all that effort, all those systems, it means nothing, because that one feeling can get in the way and, like, sabotage everything. Sabotage everything. So when I say outsource and don't feel guilty about it, I really mean you got to get a handle on the guilt here, because you're going to call the cleaning lady or you're going to order the groceries once and you're going to feel great. And then by the third or fourth time, like Kelsey said, maybe you're going to feel like, oh, I could just do this. I'll just take it back. I'll just do it. Right? Because you're letting guilt creep in. If you're able to kind of recognize it's just guilt, it's just showing up, it's normal. I'm totally worthy of doing this. I'm getting back time. I'm able to, be the best version of myself because I don't have to do this thing every single day or however often I was doing it. It shifts everything. Now, one other thing I'll say is you don't have to necessarily pay for what you're outsourcing. What do I mean by this? I don't know how old your kids are, whoever's on this call, but my kids, like I said, are 8, 8, 4, and 2. All my kids do chores in this house. All my kids do chores. We have a chore chart. We incentivize them. We're teaching them responsibility. I find I'm teaching them to adult. You're raising kids who are going to be adults one day. I want them to learn how to do these things. So I feel like it's a parenting win, and I get help. I'm not the one cleaning up the kitchen every night. I'm not the one doing all the folding of the laundry. I'm not the one who's like taking on all of these burdens and feeling that resentment later that everyone else is just hanging out or watching TV or like doing their own thing. Now, I do have a lot of kids, so maybe I have more help, but that also means more laundry and more dishes and more things to do around here. So I want you to really think about this in that way too. When our third son arrived, we had a parenting expert come in and kind of help us like with the transition. And one of the things that she taught me was like, kids as young as 2 years old can start doing things around the house. Now, are they going to do it as well as you can do it? Probably not. I mean, let's get real. Like, my 2-year-old's not going to sweep the way I sweep, but I give him the dustbuster. He definitely like picks up the crumbs off the floor. He helps me unload the dishwasher. He's learning, and he's just going to get better as time goes on.
Yeah,
So
I think for just younger kids or parents of younger kids, get a handheld vacuum, like, for one, just start there. And, 2 and above, maybe even 18 months or so, can vacuum around with that. But I recently saw something that said, so many parents will clean when their child naps because they think that that's their window, but then you're hiding that part of your life from your kids if they're not seeing it. So they don't actually know how things get cleaned up, and you're not teaching them that. And you're not giving yourself that break, because if your kids are too young to maybe be doing full chores and they do take a nap still, that's your window to sleep or do your own thing or whatever that is. And I think that I realized that how important that was to like really show your kids, hey, I have to clean up, and you can sit here and watch me, or you can help me, and here's how you can help. And I think you pointed out some great things of asking, like, how can they help, even if it's not as good as you would be. So I think really, if they're walking, they can help.
Yeah, yeah, totally. That's a great point to bring up as well. They're not seeing that version. And we all know kids emulate, they imitate us, whether we like it or not. Sometimes I
Mhm.
wish they wouldn't, but it is an indirect form of parenting in that way. All right, let's start wrapping this up because I know we're getting close to time here. So I mentioned earlier that one person that you need to be able to help you manage your time the way you want to do it. And this is it. You, like, this is what I'm going to leave you with. You're it. Because maybe right now you're feeling motivated and excited, but come tomorrow or come Monday or come whenever things or maybe aren't going as planned for you, you might be like, oh, I can't do that. I don't have time to make that happen. I'm too busy, or life happens, or whatever it is. You have to remember you're the only person who can make any sort of change, any sort of implementation of this really happen. Like, no one's knocking on your door telling you, hey, Kelsey, like, it's time for you to go rest now, or it's time for you to work on your goals now, or it's time for you to not clean the house now, or it's time for you to get that support now. Like, no, you have to make that happen for yourself. It's on you. And while that could be sort of like a slap in the face, I think it's also really empowering that it's your choice, it's your time, it's your life, and you get to choose how you want to spend it. Every choice you make is a decision that is yours. You decide every day if you're going to wake up, show up at work. You decide every day if you're going to cook dinner or order out. You decide, and there's no shame in any decision, but it's your decision. And I think that's really, really empowering. So that is where I'm going to leave you. This is where you can find me if you want to stay connected. And I just really, really thank you for taking time out of your schedule, out of your life to be here with us tonight.